Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski. As always, with me, Alex Taylor.
What up?
So, Alex, Trey McBride. He has now 87 receptions with 0 touchdowns. They literally designed a shovel pass at the goal line to try to get him a touchdown. So the narrative is there. They designed a play just to get this man a touchdown. They are playing the Panthers this week. If you were a betting man, would you put money on McBride anytime touchdown? Is this the week for it to happen against the Panthers?
I mean, I don't give financial advice, but yes. I mean, it's got to happen. Like, everyone knows about it. There's only a couple more games left. There's urgency here. I mean, obviously, they're scripting him now in the red zone. It's the Panthers. Yeah. Gotta happen.
If any game, it would be this game for sure. So I am going to put some money on this game. Maybe not a whole lot, but I'm going to put an anytime touchdown on it. Absolutely.
Couple bones. All right.
For sure. Like we did last week, we're going to talk about some stats from the previous week that could be impactful for fantasy, just to be aware of some things that we noticed. I'm going to start off with Xavier Worthy. The rookie finally was a part of the game script in a major way. He saw a season-high 11 targets. Do you think the Chiefs are finally getting the rookie more involved, just based out of them not having any other wide receiver options,
No wide receiver options. And then also we have a hobbled Mahomes now. His status is kind of week to week. We'll see what happens. So I think you got to, even if he does play, you want to hit, be hitting Worthy, maybe some quick screens, get the ball out of Mahomes' hands quick. So, I mean, it's been a first rounder on him. So obviously you want to utilize him as much as you can. And his touchdown was, I mean, once you get the ball in his hands, he's so fast. So you got to.
Yeah, open field, he's nasty. Chase Brown is the new Alvin Kamara, now that Kamara is injured. But he had 5 more receptions this week. And since week 10, we mentioned this before, but right now he is only 1 reception behind Devon Achane, who is literally a wide receiver at the running back position because of how much he lines up at the slot. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, no, Chase Brown's a beast right now. I mean, he actually just cracked into the top 10 on the season, and that's with limited snaps at the beginning. So, I mean, he's a guy who I kind of think will fall a little bit draft-wise next year, but could be a legit RB1 all next season. So I'm excited about him.
Yeah, he's got real Kyron Williams vibes, like the breakout, just putting up crazy from last year, not this year, but last year when he had that crazy breakout. Malik Nabers, another rookie. He's had his 4th 10 reception game as a rookie this year, which is tied as an all-time NFL record with this Giants player. Do you know who it is?
I'm going to assume Odell, but But, the rookie receiver with 10 catches this week that I'm more excited about, this was his first time breaking 10 catches. That is BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. With the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love this man, and he exploded. I know Nabers gets a lot of hype because he's a little bit more flashy. People are like, once he gets better quarterback play. BTJ has also had pretty bad quarterback play his whole season. And he finally cracked 10 catches this week. So I was happy to see that. I'm excited about that, man. I'm gonna be grabbing him all over the place next year.
Yeah, he is on track to have, I forget what it is, like certain amount of catches, certain amount of receiving yards, certain amount of touchdowns, and there's only been 2 other rookie receivers to kind of hit that benchmark. One of them was Puka, and the other one was OBJ.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it was Chase. Sorry. I think it was Chase. You're right. It was Chase and OBJ, I think, were the 2. And Puka. So there's 3. But yeah, so he's putting up historic rookie numbers as well.
Either way, elite company, yeah.
Absolutely. Also, and it was OBJ, by the way, so you did get that right. But crazy enough, he was tied with another rookie with the 10 reception mark. And before he broke the 4th game, he was tied with Brock Bowers as a tight end, as a rookie tight end.
And who hasn't even played tonight because we record on Monday. So Brock Bowers still has tonight. We'll see what happens. He could retake the throne, have the 5th.
Yeah, for sure. So I just thought that was an insane stat with him breaking the record and then another rookie in a tight end position being somewhat close to it with 3 already. So Leading up to Kupp's 0-point performance, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. He was averaging wide receiver 5 numbers for when he started as a player, which was about 15 points per game in half PPR formats.
Yeah,
Tough,
I mean,
tough.
listen, there was actually a lot of goose eggs out there in the fantasy world in the first round of the playoffs for a lot of people. It was rough out there in the streets.
Yeah.
But I mean, they tried to hit him early. I mean, he had two targets on the opening drive. It was just a rainy game that turned into a slugfest. I think, better days are ahead. But Josh, I do got a stat for you. In NFL history, no player has scored 12 rushing touchdowns from the 1-yard line. Jalen Hurts last year put up 11, and this year now has 11. With 3 games left, do you think this record is all but locked in for him to be the first man with 12 rushing yard touchdowns from the 1-yard line?
So it's the stat is specifically from the 1-yard line?
Just from the one.
Oh, what a crazy stat.
Yeah, I don't know who puts the time into this, but it was not me.
Yeah.
I'm not going through that much tape.
Okay. So, all right, from the 1-yard line, with the way Saquon's been running,
situational,
and dropping down at the 1 has been his thing this year for whatever reason. So, yes, 100% he's going to have another rushing touchdown. I'm going to say yes, he will have one more tush push to seal the season. They're going to be competing all the way to the last minute. So, there's got to be at least one more tush push.
You're ready for history, people.
Absolutely. We're going to roll into observations. There's just the things we saw around the leagues, maybe some matchups, things to be aware of for fantasy playoffs and moving forward. What do you got for us, Alex?
Man, so Jonathan Taylor, who has already been a colossal letdown this season based off of draft capital, was in the midst of finally having himself a decent game, cracked 100 yards rushing on the day. And in the moment, he popped out for a juicy 40-yard scamper. He's about to score, or so you thought. Then he just went and did the classic bonehead move of dropping the ball right before he crosses the goal line. It basically amounts to an 8-point swing. You lose out of the 6 points from the touchdown, and you also gain the fumble -2. So 8-point swing. Mm-hmm. To do that to people in the fantasy playoffs is just savage. Now, Josh, do you think what would be worse for you to lose a fantasy playoff with like a Kupp situation where they just go out and just do nothing, or knowing you could have beaten a person but that -8 then dropped you below? What would be more heart-wrenching for you?
I feel like the Jonathan Taylor situation would be worse for me because he had the score, he had the opportunity to put up a touchdown, and he just blew it. I don't know if you've ever been on the receiving end of that as a fan, where somebody has dropped the ball in the end zone in a critical moment, but as a player and a coach, it must be so frustrating. But as a fan, like I saw that happen this year with with UCF, it was so infuriating.
You're jumping up. You're hyped.
So infuriating.
You don't even really believe what you saw at first.
Yes.
You're like, wait, that looked a little. Was that real? Is that happening?
Yeah. So to lose a fantasy game like that would be just heartbreaking in itself. I already know how much pain is involved in that, but also losing a game. And with the Kupp situation, obviously you're probably not sitting Cooper Kupp, but if you start him, you should be aware. Like the weather, we've talked about numerous weather forecasts, and that game was projected
that was
to have
bad.
crazy winds and crazy weather. Yes, Puka figured it out. He ended up being the guy, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And talking about that game, run right into it. The Niners versus the Rams. It honestly was hard to watch in the first half. There was a lot to break down in this game, so we're going to kind of break this up into 2 parts. But weather played a huge part in the first half production. The quarterbacks couldn't grip the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. And I would also like to give some credit to the Niners here. They're starting to get healthy on defense. So they had Dre Greenlaw return. They had Nick Bosa, Taloa Hufanga. I probably didn't say that right. Demore Lenoir, and D-line Jordan Elliott. Like this is like the first game where almost the entire team is fully healthy on defense. And we're talking about, defensive end, linebacker, safety, cornerback. Like these are main guys that are part of the mix, and they were flying around to the ball. Like even though Devondre Campbell walked off the field in the third quarter and just quit on his team, which is heart-wrenching to watch. And I don't know if you saw the post-game pressers, but they were not thrilled.
Oh, everyone was trashing him. Kiddo was trashing him. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Yeah. It was, he deserved it. And then I just saw they're going to suspend him 3 games, which then cost him money. If he'd just just played, he would have gotten paid 3 game checks, but he's missing out on that now.
Yeah, the GM came out and was like, we do not want to support this type of behavior, and if we cut him right now, another team would sign him, and he would get the benefit of that, and we don't want that to happen. So he went to the league commission, was like, listen, we got to do something. We're not cutting him, so he needs to be suspended. So they figured it out. But with the Niners defense getting healthy, do you think moving forward you need to be weary of matchups against the Niners because of, that game, how they looked? They have Miami and Detroit coming up, with their both offensive powerhouses from a fantasy perspective. What do you think about that?
Especially Miami this week coming up. I'm not going to dive into Hill and questionable Waddle situation, but Jonnu Smith is a man that will not be stopped. Double-digit points for 5 straight weeks. I would not bet against Jonnu Smith putting up double digits, because that's just what this man does at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes he saves it for overtime. Sometimes he saves it for overtime and then just explodes just to make it interesting. But
that game was ridiculous. Okay. I think Waddle did have a little something getting injured. Achane was actually out for almost an entire quarter of that game. So I think that helped the Jonnu stock. But if Waddle doesn't play, absolutely smashing Jonnu. Second part of this observation is about Cooper Kupp, who earned, we already mentioned it, 0 points in fantasy this week. So listen to the stacks. So according to Next Gen Stats, Cooper Kupp ran 4.69 miles on Thursday, which is the largest distance run in a 0 reception, 0 yards, and 0 touchdown game in NFL history. So my dude was a cardio king. He ran 1.5 5Ks during the game, just getting his exercise in. So Alex, if you squeak by this week in the playoffs, are you firing up Kupp next week and blocking this out of your memory?
So luckily, the one team that I do have Cooper Kupp in had that first round bye. So I actually wasn't all that upset about it, luckily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a smash start at this point. I mean, I think him and Stafford are boys, like Stafford knows, all right, maybe I did you a little dirty. I had you out running there 5K or more than that, like whatever that miles equals.
1.5.
I think he goes out and just explodes. I don't know. I don't know if him and Stafford are still eating breakfast together every day, but Stafford's not going to do him dirty like that back-to-back weeks. So I think he more than makes up for it this week, and I'm definitely playing him.
Agreed.
And let's just dive into wide receivers that are definitely going to explode next week. For this week's Mike Evans 1,000 yard status update, I feel the need to quote Charles Dickens. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I'll get into that in a sec. My man crush, Mike Evans, went out and just dominated the top scoring defense in the NFL. He went off for 9 catches, 159 yards, and 2 scores against the Chargers. But as they say, no good deed goes unpunished. I've been waiting for a beastly Evans game like this, and it figures it comes at my expense in the fantasy playoffs in one of my teams that did not have that first round bye. So I am out officially. It's like those stories you hear. Remember, like Matthew McConaughey was telling a story about how his father passed away. I don't know if you've ever heard this. He had a heart attack while getting it on with his wife. And that's kind of what it felt like for me. Especially that second touchdown, it was just the nail in the coffin. I was officially dead at that moment, but I had a smile on my face. I was glad to see it happen. And there's a lot worse ways to go. And it was against our good buddy Nick. So shout out Nick. So he's an avid listener. So
nice.
Have fun in the semis, Nick.
Congrats,
Bring
Nick.
it home.
Yeah,
Mike Evans will take you to the promised land.
For sure.
So status update. He's now sits at 749 yards on the season. Needs just 83.7 over the next 3 games. We got Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. I think it's definitely happening.
Yeah, and I mean, It's funny. We say like 83.7 yards. Like, no problem. Mike Evans is going to get that. But 83 yards, like every game, is not like just like a walk in the park for every wide receiver. But Baker's going to get him the ball. They're going to continue to hyper-target him. Everybody's talking about it at this point. I think you were the first one to start mentioning it many, many weeks ago. But now the narrative, you did. You started that hype. It's starting to kind of get traction.
Pundit at this point?
For sure. I think people are hacking your information. Absolutely. But the last game I want to talk about, I know I skipped one of these, but I'm just going to talk about the Josh Allen game. He went out against Detroit, and I truly believe that they are stat padding him. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe this is like a conspiracy theory. I get my, my tinfoil hat on. Yeah, but he is being stat padded for the MVP race. That's the only thing I can put together on why they're putting their elite quarterback at risk so consistently with running the ball. However, I digress. Yep. David Montgomery is out for the season, which is crazy at this point. His prop bet, by the way, ESPN just posted it. His prop bet for the season was 775.5 rushing yards. That was the over.
Shut up.
And he's at 775. ESPN literally just
no
posted
way.
It. So tinfoil hat
nuts.
Back on. Script writers doing work.
Someone in Vegas is like pressing a button somewhere. Like, all right, take him out.
Like, it's time.
Go for the knees.
The crazy part is he's, I guess, broken 800 yards like consistently, like over his career. So just insane. But since Monty is out, you have been doubting my boy Gibbs, who has been running back 4 on the season, even with Monty in half PPR. Last game, Monty ended up going out early. Granted, it was more of a pass-heavy game, so Gibbs would have probably seen most of the touches. 2 touchdowns, 110 all-purpose yards, and I feel like that game, Detroit could not get much going. They had to go back kind of to the well, rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of be that producer. We saw Dave
Laporta had a good game.
Yeah, Laporta get back in the mix, right? So we saw kind of somewhat of the Detroit of late where they had to revert back to what they were doing, not just control the clock and run. Are you ready for the Gibbs to be a league-winning running back over the next 2 weeks? Are you ready for him to go parabolic? And he's the best handcuff. He's a starter and he's a handcuff all at the same time. I love this man. All right, go ahead.
First off, I have never hated on Gibbs the talent, and we have tape.
Okay.
This is all tape. We can go find it.
All right,
I have never hated on the man from a skill-based argument. I merely said Monty would be there, and Monty was there. But this Lions offense has been so. I did not think he'd be RB4 in the season. I'll give you that. I was thinking just from an opportunity standpoint, I was thinking it was more like the 7-8 range. But this Lions offense has just been absolutely lethal. So yes, he's been explosive, and now getting 100% of the opportunities, or probably not 100%, but even more than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything under 25 is a letdown for him at this point in like half PPR. Probably a full 30 is probably the floor in a full PPR. So yeah, he's going to go insane.
I would argue he is better to have than Saquon at this point because of the Monty situation. Like, I think he's the most valuable running back at this point.
And kind of crazy, the two big running backs of the season, King Henry and Saquon, who just cruised people to the playoffs. They both were in the single digits this week. I think Saquon was like 6 point something. Henry was like 8 point something. Mixon also got a little hurt. He also had a bad week for, those are like the stud RBs of the season.
Those were the studs.
So Gibbs is coming for him.
It was the little guys, Gibbs and Achane.
And people remember what you do in the fantasy playoffs. Like if you go out and win it for somebody, they remember that, and they'll like that's what everyone's looking for next year. Like when God, I remember Kamara got like the 5 touchdown game in the championship
looking for
game.
That guy. Mm-hmm.
Oh God,
that inflates their draft stock, absolutely, and that's a way you can
sure.
Maybe take advantage of that too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, kind of look for a guy who maybe slipped up in the fantasy playoffs, and then they might be getting like a cheap deal next year. So
for sure, Checo's on my list as a cheap deal guy.
Ooh, all right.
But that's way too early. Way too early top 10 rankings, right? So waiver wire pickups. These are guys available in less than 50% of leagues. More available in more than 50% of leagues. So Alex, who you guys start us off?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, I think a lot of leagues lock teams out from picking up players if they're not involved in the playoffs, in the
Yeah.
normal playoff, not the consolation bracket. So, I mean, at this point, you're probably down to just 4 teams, and it's, you don't want to get too crazy with the waiver pickups. Is like how many people these people are actually going to like touch a roster. Who knows? Probably not likely.
Yeah.
But Brenton Strange, second-year tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Evan Ingram's was put on the IR Saturday before the day before the game, ending his season. So Strange went out there and had the most targets, receptions, and yards of his career. He's scored 8 points or above in 4 of the 5 games that Evan Ingram's has missed this year. The Jags now take on a terrible Raiders team this week. So, I mean, if something happened to your tight end situation, I like Strange as an emergency tight end fill-in this week, if we're desperate.
Yeah, I had Njoku, who was out. I had Evan Ingram. Those are my 2 tight ends pretty much. So Ingram got dropped. Njoku went to IR for hopefully he's back this week. Strange was on my list, but I was like, man, Mac Jones is throwing him the ball. I don't want anything to do with Mac Jones throwing my tight end catches. So I went Kincaid, but the opportunities are there. And that's what you look for in a tight end. If you can get more targets, get more opportunities, then it's a winning formula, especially in PPR.
Man, did you see Kincaid miss out on that 1 touchdown?
Yes,
got called back on penalty.
I was not happy about that.
Did the little shovel pass? It was pretty good.
Yeah, so frustrated. I was like, oh.
But Allen's padding stats,
I mean, yeah, kind of. Weren't they up at that point by
I know,
something?
But I'm teasing you.
Yeah, I think they called a draw play right out, a QB draw, like from like the 4-yard line with James Cook sitting in their backfield. I don't know. They got a lot of stuff. Next waiver wire guy is Kendre Miller, 16% rostered only. Alvin Kamara went out with a groin injury, so he went out I think in the 3rd, early 4th quarter. Kendre could be in line for running back 1 work. This isn't like a great, exciting opportunity because he's on the Saints offense. But if let's say Monty was your running back 2 and now you're in a pinch and you need somebody.
And Kamara?
Yeah. And they're going to be probably playing from behind. He can catch passes in the backfield. They're going to run the ball with him. I don't think they really have anybody else. I think not Jamal Williams. It'll come to me. But they do have a running back behind him. But he is not. He's cooked. He's like 31 or something like that. I think it is Jamal Williams. I'm going to look it up real quick.
Is he still around? I mean, I was going to say, he's been there for a while if he is.
Yeah, it's Jamal Williams. Right. Yeah, so.
Like he has any touches this year?
He's 29. He is very limited. Everybody, it's either been Kamara or
29
Kamara,
years old, so old. Put him in a grave already.
Yeah,
put him in a grave. Bury him, man.
If you're not elite, it falls off. So, all right. You take the next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a running back I would be maybe a little bit more prone to picking up would be this was the Josh Draft Crush special.
I miss so hard.
Jerome Ford, currently owned in 43% of the leagues, with the saddening injury to Nick Chubb, which I don't know, might end his career. I don't know. Who knows if he comes back again? But Ford finishes RB7 on the week, 86 total yards and a score. Ford didn't deliver earlier in the season when we needed him and we're rooting for him. But who knows? Second wind here. The Browns get to play the Bengals this week, so we know it'll be a barn burner with plenty of points going around. He should get see a decent amount of opportunities. So I see him as a possible flex play for you in the semis. Decent amount of opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, as I was watching that game and I was watching Jerome Ford just like look electric, I was like, this is what I saw last year. Like, where did this go? Like, there was just a huge gap. I mean, he was on Cleveland. Chubb was coming back, but still.
That doesn't like expectations,
So frustrating to watch. But I'm glad he's doing well. Good thing is, if you did take my advice, you didn't draft him until like the 12th or 13th round, which you'd ended up drafting Nick Chubb in the same pick anyway. So, he dies that bullet, and maybe got a week or two out Another running back, because again, running backs are super valuable in the playoffs.
They're dropping like flies right now. I don't know what's going on.
Which has been crazy. There's been some injuries throughout the year, but nothing crazy significant. Like consistently, the wide receivers have really taken most of the brunt from an injury standpoint this year,
especially early on.
Absolutely. But the guy I'm going to talk about is Tyjae Spears, 47% rostered. Tony Pollard, he had a foot injury earlier, or actually really all year he's been playing with it. And he's just been honestly a beast. Yeah, he's just been working through it, fighting through it. Last week, though, last week he ended up having to leave the game, put up 22 yards and a touchdown on the first drive. Like he went out there, he worked through it, scored a touchdown. But something happened. He tweaked something. He had to pull out of the game. He ended up coming back. But in the interim, Tyjae Spears ended up having 87 yards with 6 catches. He had 1 touchdown. He saw the goal line carry because they really didn't, Tony Pollard is who they have, and Tyjae is the backup. So they really didn't have anybody else. So he got another touchdown. Titans are probably going to be playing from behind most of the game, especially if Will Levis continues to throw interceptions. He got me negative 18 points, by the way, in our dynasty
that's
league.
Some crazy scoring though.
Lord, I was like, come on, bro. But he could be a PPR machine, could be a great running back too. Again, with Monty out, it's all dependent on Pollard, but could be plug and play if you're in a desperate situation. The next segment we're going to move to is trust or bust. And again, these are guys real quick, dirty, tell who they are, who they're playing, and Alex gives us a bust or a trust. So we'll start off with Sutton versus the Chargers.
Bust, divisional matchup, 2 good defenses. I think it'll be a low scoring affair. Maybe he squeaks out the touchdown, but that's not trust,
Dang, okay, fading Sutton there. Nabers versus
it's a
Falcons.
Defensive matchup,
I got you. No, I get the mindset.
Nabers versus Falcons, that's a bust. It could happen any given week with Nabers, but I'm not calling it. I don't trust that offense in any way. So
gotcha. They got elite quarterback play though. They I think they're down to like the sixth string quarterback now. All right. Gibbs versus Bears.
He was hitting him with a lot of targets, which was nice, but I wouldn't trust it.
He was just throwing at him. Gibbs versus Bears. I gave you a gimme.
Oh, well, that's a gimme. That's a trust. Full backfield duties against a terrible Bears team. Just full send, 30 points.
Yeah. McBride scores a touchdown versus the Panthers.
Law of averages. It has to happen, right? So that's trust. It has to happen.
I agree. I got to look at the line on anytime touchdown for him. I might just put money on it until the end of the year because it's going to hit, right? It's going to hit one of these weeks, and whatever the difference is, you'll probably make a profit.
Like they have to the odds can't be like that crazy because everyone has to just be assuming it'll happen eventually. So they're probably getting like as if he's had Kupp touchdowns, but he hasn't. So I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully the computers are making the stats. They're like, oh, no touchdowns. He's not going to score.
Never done it before. He never will.
Right, exactly. Kupp versus Sauce. I don't know if he'll be on him or not, but I'm sure there'll be times when he is versus the Jets.
Yeah, I think at this point Puka probably takes the most of the number one targets, but I'm sure he might bounce around. Trust again. I think Stafford just feels bad and makes up for him and just pummels him with targets.
All right. Kendre Miller, if he starts over Kamara against the Packers.
That's a bust. Packer top 10 against the run, and Saints have nothing going on offense. Carr's still not supposed to be back.
Nope. Broken wrist. Baker versus Cowboys.
Come on. Trust. He just dropped 40 points on the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. You think the Cowboys are going to get in our way? Please.
Dang. Okay.
Please.
Okay. All right.
Their defense has actually been playing pretty well lately. They've been healthy. Their defense is okay. But no, Baker going to bake. Come on.
Jameis threw, I think he had the highest scoring QB right below Josh Allen on the year against one of the best defenses, the Broncos. So it does happen. I'm just saying. But yeah. Okay. Trust Baker. Got it. All right, we're going to move to the smash start of the week. Alex will start us off like he normally does. What you got for us, Alex?
Man. So it is with humility and grace that I say, I am an idiot. To quote Ygritte from Game of Thrones, you know nothing, Alex Taylor. My smash start from last week, Amari Cooper, who was coming off of a game where he saw 14 targets and playing in a game with the highest over-under, one that was sure to be an explosive affair. And,
Shootout, right?
and it was an explosive affair.
That's exactly what we
But you know what?
expected.
Amari went out and put up a flat goose egg. Not only did he not record a single point, he didn't even see a single target in a game where the Bills scored 48 points and 9 different players saw at least a target. It was brutal to watch him dismantle one of my playoff teams, the same one that lost against Mike Evans. But if nothing else, I am a man capable of learning from my mistakes. Amari is officially dead to me. I will never touch that man again. And Josh, if you remember, in our preseason, we did an episode called "Will Not Draft" or "Do Not Draft," and this is just like, it was almost more of like an emotional thing more than statistics. And I even said my wide receiver was Amari Cooper. I was like, I just don't like his game. I never liked his game, but it was an auction draft. I was getting a little cheeky in there. I got stuck with him. Here we are. I kind of was like trying to hype myself up with the smash start of the week, thinking maybe he would help me out for once. But no, never again. I will never touch him. I probably won't ever touch a Bills player other than Josh Allen. None of them can be trusted. But with that said, this week I like Jerry Jeudy against the Bengals, assuming Jameis doesn't get benched. Just because end of the year we'll see what happens there. But if Jameis is out there, they're playing the Bengals. Bengal games are always fantasy gold mines. Their defense is terrible. It's high scoring affairs. Jameis just got beat up against the Chiefs, so he's coming out swinging for the fences in that classic Jameis style. And Jeudy's just been getting hit with a bunch of targets lately. He's averaging 10 targets a game over the last 7 weeks with Jameis. So if Jameis is there against the Bengals, I like Jeudy for 8 catches, 119 yards, and a score.
Yeah, so I was just looking up Jerry Jeudy's stats. Since week 9, he is...
Yeah, he's going crazy.
Yeah, he is wide receiver 2 in games played and is averaging. So Ja'Marr Chase is the only one that's averaging more points than him per game. JSN
we had that monster against Denver, but the
40 drop. Yeah, but all the other ones, and this is PPR, but all the other ones are, above 14, at least above 14.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's just getting targeted like a madman. So if Jameis plays and Jeudy gets a goose egg, that would be craziness. Because I agree.
Don't put that juju on me.
How did Amari not get a single target in that game? Like, I just don't understand the logic. And the only thing I could think of is that they're just trying to pad stats for Josh Allen and giving him every touchdown.
It would still be stats for him. It would still be a stat.
I mean, last time he threw it to Amari had to give it back to him because he was like, "You're not allowed to score. I'm gonna score."
Get back here with that. Get over here.
My smash start of the week also flopped. Chuba Hubbard flopped. The Panthers flopped. They were looking so great. Like, we're talking 4 weeks in a row. They're looking like almost like a contending team. They were facing Raiders and Chiefs and like putting up good performances both sides of the ball. But even though it was a good matchup, Cooper Rush went out there, just got it done. He kept the Cowboys rolling. The opportunities just weren't there, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, Chuba flopped. It is what it is, but I don't think you fade that man moving forward. I think you just got to hope he bounces back because he doesn't have any competition back there. But the bounce back game of the week. So Alex got Jerry Jeudy. My smash start is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That would be too easy. If Gibbs, by the way,
that's a layup if I've ever seen.
If Gibbs gets less than 10 points, because I got him, I'm gonna be so upset. But we're gonna roll with Seattle versus Minnesota. We know Minnesota is a terrible pass defense, one of the worst in the league. JSN, honestly, has kind of looked like wide receiver 1 over DK based off of the
He's
opportunities
been
he's
good.
seeing, the targets. He's been very good. So I think he's going to break 100 yards this week, 7 catches, 1 touchdown. Just like to cement this season and just keep showing he's the alpha dog in Minnesota. I also think this game will be a shootout. So I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to go around in that game.
Although it would be a little,
right.
could get a little jammed up if Geno ends up not playing. And they said the X-ray came back negative, so he should be okay, but he did get a little banged up.
Okay, I honestly did not realize Geno was out, so I'm glad that you had that.
He left.
So
he left the game, and then what's his name came in, and it was terrible.
I saw that. I ended up
Sam Howell.
Yeah, I saw the stats at the end. I thought they pulled Geno. I actually didn't even know he got injured because I stopped watching, I think, in the fourth quarter because I was upset at Charbonnet. But got to set my emotions aside sometimes, right? Gotta take it on the chin to make sure I get all the information.
He had his X-ray, and then they said it was good. Yeah. It was negative, so it'll most likely just be questionable, not practice all week, and then pop out there. So
that's why there's 2 of us, right? Keep one of us on the ball if the other one doesn't get the opportunity to watch the game. So I appreciate that. All right, well, if y'all like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, we appreciate you hanging out here. But enough hanging out, like and subscribe, right? And as always, go steal a championship, and we'll see y'all later.
Peace.